welcome to Nightmare County. I'm your host, Randall M. Gould. Thank you for tuning in. And again, today is Saturday, which means Saturday Slashers. And in this video, I'm going to talk about a early 2000s slasher released in 2001 called Valentine. Now, this name of this horror movie or slasher movie may not pique everybody's interest, but it did mine when I saw it years ago, and it still does today. I honestly believe it's one of the better of the late 90s slasher boom that would start with Scream. And more so probably because I believe the film, it resembles more of like the slasher movies that came out during the 80s and everything. To me, it'd be something you would see, like something that came out in the 80s during this golden age of slasher movies and stuff. Is this gory or has some of the more like fantastic kills like from the 80s? Not nearly, but it does have some really good kills, and I still think it's a pretty dang good movie. The movie was directed by Jamie Blanks, who had also previously held Urban Legends just a couple years prior to this one. And you can tell the guy really loves slasher movies. And I would say that Valentine is definitely a better film than Urban Legend. Even though I still like Urban Legends and everything, it's just I just felt like Valentine was. It didn't seem like it was trying to ride the coattails of Scream like Urban Legends was, and that being because when Scream came out, I mean it reignited slasher movies in a big way, and that's when I really got into slasher movies because I was a kid at that point and everything. Even though I started watching like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, and all these other ones before, but Scream reignited the box office, and then everybody jumped in on it and tried to profit off of the slasher, the re-emerged slasher boom. And because after Scream, you had I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legends, Valentine, and many others. And I just think that Valentine, even though it came in at the tail end of the slasher boom, the slasher movies were starting to die out by the early 2000s, because most of the time these slasher movies had really boring movie posters. There's nothing but floating heads, and it really sucked. But we still got good movies out of it. We just had some really crappy posters. But yeah, Valentine just came out at the tail end, and no one was really interested in seeing slasher movies at this point. I think at that time, early 2000s, supernatural movies was what was booming and everything. And so slasher movies, people pull away. Luckily, slasher movies continue to pop back up every now and then. But I'm saying that a lot. The movie was based on a Tom Savage book called Valentine. And while I'm not a big fan of the book, and I was lucky enough to, I never knew that the movie was based on a book. I had a high school coach who was also a English teacher, and he had told me that I needed asked me if I'd seen the movie, and I hadn't yet. He told me I should read the book, and actually he had the book, and he let me read the book. And so I went into the movie when I went and saw it, like on the weekend following that. I was thinking, how close are they going to follow the book? And they really don't. But the one thing in the book that I wish they kind of would have carried over into the movie was if they would have had it followed more or less the point of view of the stalker/killer, because that's what the book pretty much does. But the movie takes place in San Francisco, and it's basically your 80s slasher motive for all killers to do everything that they've always do is they were bullied when they were younger, and they come back to wreak revenge and chaos on the people that had done them wrong in the past. And that's what Valentine is, pure and simple. Jamie Blanks has even said in interviews that the movie wasn't the best written movie that he had directed, but it is what it needs to be. And it pays homage to the 80s slasher movies in the way that he wanted it to and everything. And I think when I go to see a slasher movie, I don't expect a fantastic script whatsoever. I don't see how anyone does. We're there for the a decent story, the chaos and the kills, and we always want an epic looking slasher killer in our movies. We want our masked killer to look interesting, and I think they did it was filmed. The Cupid mask or cherub mask that the killer wears is iconic in my opinion. I think it looks great, and it works. And that's one of the things I always like about slasher movies is what is the killer going to look like? Because the best slasher movies have a killer that has an iconic look. I mean, we're talking about from Halloween. I guess you can kind of say that Halloween kind of started this. But if you want to go even further back to the Giallo films and everything, with the films like Torso and so on, where the masked killer would wear like basically a ski mask, which kind of like started, or even The Town That Dreaded Sundown, where the killer wears a potato sack over his face, which to me is still an iconic look, which is the reason why I think Friday the 13th Part 2 has one of my favorite masks in it, with it being the sack face Jason. But the cherub mask works, and I think it's great, and I enjoyed it. There are some really good kills in this movie. Are they overboard with gore or anything? No, but they are still good kills, and they're serviceable. And I think almost any slasher movie fan would enjoy them. I constantly, like when it comes to the 90s slasher movies, there's more bad than there is good. And it's mainly because Scream had kind of set this standard where everything had to be really meta. And I guess, and then and it just, I guess that all these other slasher movies, you try to match the comedy or the cast of this a big cast of up and coming stars in their slasher movies, whereas before, like in the 80s, your slasher movies didn't have like all the up and coming stars that had already been in like TV shows, all these TV series and stuff, all in their movies and everything. Whereas in the 90s, it was like, well, we have all these 90s TV stars, we're all going to put them in these movies, slasher movies. And that's the reason why I guess you get a lot of the floating head posters that came out at the time that just sucked. And yeah. But anyways, the cast for this was, I'm going to look down for this, Denise Richards, of course, everybody knows who Denise Richards was, of Drop Dead Gorgeous, Starship Troopers, and Wild Things fame. David Boreanaz, from which I dated the girl, and she absolutely loved him, and was a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan and Angel fan. So he's in it. Katherine Heigl, who this is one of her earlier films before she would go on to make Grey's Anatomy and everything. And then, to me, one of the more interesting cast members was Mary Shelton. This is one of her earlier films, as she was also in many of people my age, one of our favorite films, The Sandlot, where she played the lifeguard, and everybody loved her. But yeah, she'd go on, and she's been in a lot of genre fare, from even the 2014 Scream 4 and the 2022 Scream as well. So she's been in a lot of she's actually in a lot of genre films, which is quite awesome and everything. But again, this is just a fun movie, and this is going to be talking about this movie, short review, trying to get people out there to go see it. But this is a very fun movie. I think you can find it almost several of the streaming services. If not, I'll look it up and post it down below. It's a fun movie. It has some good comedy, not great comedy bits, but it has some comedic elements that will make you chuckle somewhat. It is kind of cheesy, because it pays homage to the 80s slasher movies in that aspect. It doesn't have a great story, but it's serviceable. It's interesting enough, and has some great kills, and a great killer, and it's directed by Jamie Blanks, who obviously knew what he was doing. I actually enjoyed Jamie Blanks' first three films, Urban Legends, The Valentine, and the next one, Storm Warning. Storm Warning is more or less like Straw Dogs and I Spit on Your Grave. It's a rough movie it's a tough movie to watch. It has some impressive scenes in it. The acting's really good in it, but it is a very depressing movie. I would say it's if you can ever find the movie Storm Warning, it is a tough watch, but it's a good revenge flick, if anything. totally, if you like revenge flicks, it's up there. I was, like I said, just Straw Dogs and A Spoon in the Grave. It's, if you like those type of movies, or Last House on the Left, that kind of movie, those kind of movies, then you'll enjoy Storm Warning. I was expecting their slash movie. I went in and saw Storm Warning, and was totally surprised when I found out that it was not. But yes, if you're a fan, I haven't seen Storm Warning anywhere since it came out years ago with when Dimension Entertainment was releasing the special they were releasing special Dimension Edge or Extreme or whatever movies and stuff, and that's when it was released like that. But yes, if you can, find Valentine and watch it. I promise you, especially those slasher movies, give it a watch and you'll enjoy it. Like I said, it's got. I don't see why people haven't tried to mimic the cherub mask killer look at all. And it's got a great ending. It's got an ending that I was happy with, and I think that most people who like slasher movies would enjoy the end of Valentine's as well. It's got a great ending, and I wish slasher movies would kind of do this more or less. And I think that Scream would bring back the mask killer look and everything. I mean, yeah, we got Happy Death Day. We got some other slasher movies where they kind of bring back the mask. I guess you can throw in Terrifier into that mix as well. But hopefully more slashers get released and people keep coming up with these awesome masks that people can buy and collect and everything. Just like the Scream mask, Jason's, and Michael Myers. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe, as I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, and try to find this movie and watch it. Valentine, released in 2001, directed by Jamie Blanks. Give it a watch, you'll enjoy it. Oh yeah, and I gotta say, and I was into nu metal when I was a teenager when this came out, and I really enjoyed the soundtrack, and I still go back and I listen to it, especially in that scene and everything. And I still listen to nu metal, which probably made me lose a lot more fans, but hey, yeah, I grew up during it and was a fan of it. I still love my earlier heavy metal and death metal and everything, and hardcore, but I still enjoy the nu metal scene just as much as well. It's just music, and I enjoy it. But hopefully you do too. Anyways, hope you have liked and subscribed, like I said before. And if you want to comment below and talk about what you liked about the movie, or if you like, or your favorite kill was, or in fact, if you want to talk about what your favorite 90s slasher movie was, you can comment below and we'll talk about it. Or you can hit me up on Instagram and Facebook under Nightmare County, or Rando M. Ghoul on Instagram as well. We'll talk about 90s slashers and how many of them sucked, and how some of them were just great and everything. And yeah, and as I always say before, or as I've always said before, don't be a stranger in tuning.